then nothing grows. And if it's too lax, it falls apart and goes all over the place. So I started saying, well, how do you do that? So I started looking at DAOs, and that's how I got hooked up with Dwayne and Jason and people like that, and said, all right, I need to understand this DAO because it may be part of building these multi-sided ecosystem platforms. And then after I found about a DAO, I go, okay, great tools, but how do you actually decide what you want it to do? How do you do the consensus part? And so that's how I end in Fractally. So my goal is hopefully to take this MVP fractal set and actually apply it against real world and document it and publish it. So
yeah, fantastic.
that's
Yeah,
kind of where I am. So I was talking about an art community yesterday. That's where I live, and that's one of the candidates. But I'm creating a mind map and putting potential projects, not just for me, but for anybody who might have ideas on projects. And I'm going to hopefully select one of those and, next year actually publish, but hopefully leave behind something real.
That's great. There's this guy, Patrick Nova Crypto. He does mind maps, right? That's one of his projects. So
he is on my weekly contact list.
Okay, great. It's awesome. Yeah, so many technologies in this space. It's incredible. I mean, we're talking metaverses, DAOs, blockchain, mind maps. It's just all sorts of concepts, theories. It's amazing. So
I just sent you a telegram and it corrected your name to Jim, so it auto corrected me.
No problem. I'll know it's from. Let me see.
All right, maybe I'll get started with just a quick intro on the agenda. I think most of us have been through the process. I see one new person. Hey, Finest. Once we get to our breakout rooms, the objective here is for a breakout room of random people to come to consensus. Oh, we lost him. There you go. Here, I'm just going to bring up the agenda here. How's everybody doing? Hopefully good.
Doing great.
Good. You see it, David? Hey, KROWN man.
Hey. Trying to get my face brighter.
Yeah. Yeah, you look like it's the nighttime over in that world.
I got the sun in the background now. I moved to the window in the back desk, and now I'm in the dark.
Nice. Well, I think we've all gone through the process, so maybe I'll just skip the agenda and just maybe give a little piece of updated news. There's a few different fractals going on, and one of them is the Eden on EOS fractal, which happens quite early every Wednesday at, I believe, 1400 UTC. And one of the active members in the Genesis fractal and Eden on EOS is Vlad. And we've worked with Vlad before. He did the consortium app, the voting app on EOS and now on Wax. And so he just offered to build us a tool for next week's meeting that when we come to consensus, there'll be a little tool where we just plot people in the tool, and it'll automatically put the consensus on the Wax blockchain and then send out the relevant amount of fractal Wax tokens. So yeah, kind of fun. Well, I know we have some hard stops here today at the top of the hour. We have 3, 6, 9, 10, so 2 rooms. Unless there's any questions or comments, maybe I'll just we'll get right into it and split into our breakout rooms. What do you guys think?
Dwayne, can you give us recording permission so we can record directly in Zoom?
Oh, I'm glad you reminded me. Yeah, let me just right click on everybody here. Thanks so much.
Cool. Yeah, thank you.
I guess some shameless plugs. There's many on this call I see here, including Marco and Dan and June and myself as well, that have Pomelo grants up there. So if you're not familiar with Pomelo, quadratic voting, just a tiny bit of a, 1 EOS goes a long way to get matched funding. So if you guys are interested. Hey, Thomas, I see your hand up there.
Hey, quick question. So are you, do we post consensus, like in the Genesis fractal? Or are we going to be responding to a high post, or do you do it differently?
Yeah, this one's a tiny bit easier. I have everyone's, I believe I have everyone's wax address. I'll make sure I've got yours, Thomas, as well. So when we get into the breakout rooms on the second half for the consensus, just post it in a list form, just with the person's name. We don't need the wax address. I've kind of have them all in the back end here. And we start with the top one, and then our level 6 is mythical, but we don't really put anything except just the first name and initial of the second name, starting with the person that got ranked the highest down the list. So when we get back to the main room, if you just want to post that in the chat, that'd be great. And
Okay. And we need to have a wax account. I don't have one. So I can set that up though.
Perfect. Yeah,
I do have an EOS account, but so I can go in the Anchor wallet, and can I just create one there?
Yeah, I'll send you the wax wallets. Just let me bring it up here.
I think you need a
They've-
tiny amount of resources to set up a wax account in Anchor, like 0.7 wax or something. Just for RAM and bit of CPU in that.
Okay. How would I do that? Sorry to waste everyone's time with this. I just don't.
I
No,
can send you a
it's-
tutorial. So it's two. You need 2 wax. Set it up. I can send you a tutorial. It's. Oh, you'll figure it out if you're a tech guy, but it's not straightforward, but doable.
Yeah. Okay. I'll figure it out.
Yeah, and Thomas, what I can do to fast track the process, we have a little bit of funds put aside in our ƒractal.moon account to do just this. We usually do it on our intro to Alien Worlds on Mondays, but I have a little bit of wax to help people start their account. So if you go to that link, just private message me in the I'll just put my Telegram up here. Just private message me, and what I'll do is it's going to give you a send address and then a memo, and the memo is going to be something like abc.c.wam. And if you send that to me, I'll send you 5 wax just to cover the upfront needs of that account, and it'll kind of make it a little bit easier for you.
Okay. Appreciate that. I'll do my best to follow all these.
Perfect.
Set it up.
Yeah, really appreciate it. Yeah, Dan.
Yeah, thanks, Dwayne. I know that we're planning on doing breakout rooms in shortly, so I'll try to be quick. And then also, if you prefer to discuss this after, then that's okay too. But just something I've been wondering is, I noticed that for the past at least few weeks, it looks like the KROWN Deck YouTube channel hasn't been uploading the videos from these events, and also I haven't seen new posts regarding like the weekly rankings and stuff on the gofractally.com Alien World site. So I'm wondering why it hasn't been posted lately, and if you're planning to continue posting the videos and the stuff in the GoFractally site.
Yeah, that's been the manager of this weekly event's been slacking. So no other, nothing else except that. To be honest, I haven't been slacking. I've just been really distracted with everything else, but I've set aside the rest of the day to catch up. So yeah, so I've been able to every week I scrape the chat log just to make sure I have the right consensus. So kind of got everything set up on my side. So I'll make sure to get back on track, because yeah, you're exactly right. We're missing the last few weeks here.
Okay.
So apologies to that, but yeah, I just have everything set up. I made sure that I've got all the right information. So we'll get back on track. I've just been just had to go back to Canada. I'm doing some other business. So I've been a little bit overwhelmed.
Okay, well, sounds good. Thanks, Dwayne.
Yeah, for sure.
Appreciate it. And hope that you're enjoying your more free time at some point too.
Yeah, at some point, let's hope. And then by all means, we're all super busy. I would just put it out there that if this group, like we hope it grows, if it grows kind of double past this, you know, if anybody would like to help out with sending out NFTs or helping me do the back end, I can handle it right now, but I just see if we start growing, I'll need some assistance, and those kind of things can go towards your weekly respect in these meetings and stuff. So I'll just put that out there. At some point, I'll need a little bit of help.
You can always send me a message, because I do want to eventually get into that and do a little bit of it. So.
Perfect. Yeah, it's not a hard process. I've kind of got the best management practices down, but just with a group this side, I'm doing everything, you know, just by hand. And I think if we had a target that if we got into something like 4 or 5 groups, so something like 25, 30 people, that we'd twist the arm of some devs to kind of automate the back end process as well. But in time.
I got a real stupid question, but it might be something to address rather sooner than later. So if we have a small, like, we have levels, right? We have like mythical, legendary, epic, rare, common, and maybe abundant. They're not fixed, so we have different number of people in the group, kind of shifts around, and it becomes undefined. What is the actual level? Do we start at the bottom or at the top? Any ideas how we deal with that? Going forward, I think want to nail that. We would want to nail that down to say, well, either we start at the top or the bottom, so it isn't a problem. We have a smaller or a bigger group, and then we would say we're kind of maximum of 6, because there's 6 of those levels. And if there's less than 6, then we would say, well, 1 is mythical or 1 is abundant, something like that. Makes sense.
Yeah, I've been following kind of the Genesis Fractal and how they've been giving out their respect token. So the person that ranks the top is always going to get a mythical NFT. And in the wax token, the fractal token, the top level, rank 6 or mythical, they get 21 fractals. The next level gets 13, then 8, 5, 3, and 2. So in the case, say if we only had 4 people in a group like we did last week, you kind of have the advantage that the last person doesn't get the last place, right?
That sounds good.
Yeah, you bet.
That's fine with me. Sounds good.
All right, guys, we got 2 rooms of 5. I'll find my breakout room button, and maybe 20 minutes for kind of the intros. The consensus is, we're ranking people what they've done for Alien Worlds and what they've done for governance. We're smashing governance and Alien Worlds together, so it's a little fuzzy. But yeah, have fun. We've found that these are great networking sessions, and meet a lot of great people, and develop some new working relationships. So yeah, have fun. I'll give everyone maybe a 1-minute notice, and we'll get back. We'll get back here at
how much time are we? How much time are we going for?
In 40 minutes. So we'll be back here at the top of the hour.
So 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Hey, Dwayne, we have that new process with 2 rounds. Are we doing that with this group, or?
In Go Fractally, in the Genesis, they changed the way we do the first meeting, where the top 3 people are picked without a ranking, and they go on to a second round. So it makes the first kind of breakout rooms really quick. So really you're just grouping the top 3 people that go ahead. No, I'm sorry, it was 2, right? Top 2 or
Top
3?
3 people.
Top 3,
3.
yeah, okay, yeah. So top 3, and then the bottom 3 you'd come to consensus with. I just don't feel we have enough people. I think we'd have to set that we had at least 4 breakout rooms to kind of go to that next level. And then I think maybe just a little discussion of, you know, maybe if there was a bigger mission for those people to do some tasks, or if we had, you know, some big reason to get that second round. So I found it very useful. There was less noise in that second round. It's kind of harder to, you know, to rate those top 3 people. But I think for the sake of the size of these meetings, I just don't think they're big enough yet.
One of the interesting things is the groups of top 3 people tend to know each other better.
Yeah, that's it.
There's also the fact, like, usually the contenders will just be voted on the next rank, so it's not a battle to the death. Usually it's just if it's a tie, someone can step down and will probably vote it for the next rank usually. So just to keep that in mind. And then in the next week and so on, it'll kind of average out of what the actual value is, while it modulates from session to session, but over the long term, it's
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, maybe let's get at it. I'll get us into 2 breakout rooms here. All right,
Thomas,
guys.
I put two videos for you in the chat.
Oh, there you go. Nice. All right, we'll see you guys soon. See you guys at the top of the hour back here.
Cool. See ya. Thanks, Brian. Have fun, everyone.
Hey, hey.
Hey.
Well, does anybody want to volunteer to kick it off? Or actually, I guess to start, does anybody want to be the moderator?
I'm happy to do either one if you guys want, but also if anybody else wants to do it, that's cool.
Thanks, Dan. That sounds great. Who'd like to kick off?
I guess I'll go first because it seems like everybody's being quite quiet, but
Thanks.
okay, cool. Sounds good. So I'll go first. So I've been doing quite a lot to help ƒractal governance over the past week or so. I'll start a timer too, so don't go for too long. I gave a similar presentation yesterday at the ƒractal, and it was a bit difficult to summarize it all because I've been working like constantly on a bunch of stuff that's really exciting. And hold on one second, please, while I just get it up. Oh, sorry for the delay. And for some reason, it's not on right now. I don't know what's going on. Maybe somebody else want to go first while I get the technical issue figured out. Thanks, Marco.
All right, so I have a newsletter that's been ongoing for over a year. It was US Weekly, now it's briefings, but you probably most know that. So in there, I have a chronicle of ƒractal got started, and lately I've been adding the 3 listed ƒractals. As per mentioned by Dan, he recommends, and I believe it's important to getting people who are new to the ƒractal to join the Genesis, just for the process and what to expect as a whole. This doesn't get started out. But so I'm not directly linking the Alien World link, I'm more linking the full ƒractal as an invite. But Alien World just gets to there, and I make comments from time to time. What I know about what goes on in and you know, my Mockingbird Sparrow is genetically engineered bird. It's a gamer's tag because I love aviation games and space games and things like that. I'm a pilot, so there's a comic story behind it and all that. So I like talking about games, and that's really why I'm here. So I put together an article this week on the fly, but there was a follow-up to an early article. The first article was gamers use crypto to take over the world. And this one was gamers used crypto to take over the world. And the punchline of the thing is gamers gamers lead in the new economy, much the same way people who participate in Amazon movement, because they understand it. I've explained that in other stuff, but I didn't mention alien worlds in there, but that's how I like to approach it. I can expand upon it. Had I more time, that's where I would invest my stuff rather than the briefings. Briefings I see are needed and things that people recognize, but again, I believe the people that really will understand the new economy, understand digital ownership and what you can do with it and the value of it. Like, oh no, that's my sword that I've been working for so long to get. And, you know, I may never want to get rid of it, but because it has a unique function, I want to keep it. Yeah, it actually took several $100s to get because the game costs so much or whatever. They understand it, and when that stuff enters the real world, those are the people I like to reach out to. But it still doesn't get a lot of momentum, and I actually did some research into mainstream games going into crypto. Found a couple on GTA. So I'd love to be able to tie that into Alien World. I also looked into picking up an Alien World land. And I really would like if they cut that in half. It was really get lands for like a few $100s rather than over 1,000 to test it out, because it's just not enough information to get an ROI or a net better than ROI. You have that management of what you need to succeed in land ownership. And everything that I see so far is you kind of don't think of it unless you have a lot to stake into it and use it as a promotional thing. But anyway, this is the front lines. I strongly, the investors, they're not going to get it, and that's why you see the marketplace is shifting the way they do. Dan mentioned is that it's laughable how projects of blockchains are valued, and it doesn't represent you. It's not representative of anything because mutual funds are represented. So I believe gaming is a front line because people don't understand the value in much of the same way as the people who gravitated toward Amazon understood the value of the online marketplace. And I'll pass it over to Dan if he's ready. Otherwise, to Jim.
Yeah, I'm ready now. So I'll go now unless June wants to go first. And thank you, Marco. By the way, Marco, I understood almost everything you said, and I very much appreciate your work, but I would recommend that if you're able to get a better microphone at some point, because it's a little bit difficult to hear some of the things you're saying. I don't know if it's just me, but it's,
Absolutely.
it's sometimes a bit muffled.
No,
Okay.
that's another thing, Mike. So I don't have to yell or whatever. My ears are working.
Okay. Cool. Sounds good. Yeah, it sometimes just sounds a bit muffled, but it's not a huge deal, but it would be helpful to make it for the future. Okay, cool. So I'll start to share some updates. I've been working on the EdenCreators.com website a lot. And so first I'll show you a page. It's still a lot of draft pages, still very much in development, but I put together a page for the Alien Worlds Fractal, where I did a bit of an introduction into what Alien Worlds Fractal is, and then started to share some videos and playlists. The playlists aren't showing up properly right now for whatever reason, so I had to fix it. But then I just shared a bit of introduction. I'll be adding more to this page in the future, but it's just a start for now. I also updated, I don't know if you guys saw, but I updated the Eden Creators website here to help everyone cooperate fractally, make the best experience possible, and featured Genesis Fractal and Eden Fractal on the first page. I want to include Alien Worlds Fractal once we get just more consistency and stuff like that. And then also added videos and events and stuff on the events page. I think I showed this last week, but I added the Alien Worlds Fractal and the intro to Alien Worlds Fractal, in addition to Eden and Genesis Fractal and stuff. And I made pictures for a bunch of related events like that with links so everybody can learn more about all these different events. I did a bunch of work on a page I'm calling the Garden, which is kind of like having a lot of ideas to build fractals, and then also just collection of notes. Like I have a lot about Eden Fractal and Genesis Fractal, and that's also where I have the Alien Worlds Fractal and different projects that I'm working on that I'm aiming to empower with fractal governance, like DAP Heroes and Plate Tubas and Consortium and CTF. And there's a whole bunch of different posts here that a lot of them are drafts, but things that now people can see and access, and I'll be adding them over time. I hosted an Eden town hall this week with Felix, and we posted the video talking a lot about ƒractal governance. And then this is kind of not super relevant, but I did some work for the EOS community and the hot sauce, but sorry, that wasn't supposed to be in the presentation here. I also made a Pomelo pitch for Eden creators, and I've been working a lot to get it approved because it's not currently approved. But basically it's about hosting fun events with the Eden ƒractal and different public goods that we're doing, and also Eden town halls, bring communities together, and the events that I list on the page, and then making helpful video content. Like we have the playlist that we link to the KROWN DAC videos for the Alien Worlds ƒractal, and we publish videos as well from all these different ƒractals, and then just all the different communities that I mentioned in the garden. So I did a lot about that. That's mostly like the headline is basically to help create fun events and amazing content and ƒractal cooperation. I put together another page for Eden ƒractal with quite a bit more information, lots of different sub pages about Eden ƒractal tooling, like Dwayne mentioned that Vlad reached out about, that we can use here, and lots of different things here. So I'll just briefly show you, and a lot of this is more relevant to Eden ƒractal, but still for ƒractal governance in general. So there's a page about how Eden ƒractal provides public goods to the EOS community. I think it'd be cool to make a page like this for the Alien Worlds ƒractal and the Wax community eventually as well, and the Alien Worlds community. So I just talk about how it creates public goods according to the ƒractal white paper and stuff, and then how it creates helpful content and fun events and networking opportunities and open source software and inspires communities, and then have more links to different posts here. There's a lot of writing I've been doing. So these are some of the tools that Vlad has built and James Mart have built with Eden ƒractal so far, and I have links like the GitHub and so forth that people can click on. And I also have, I started writing a proposal for an interim consensus process like the Genesis ƒractal for the Eden ƒractal, which at some point I think would be good for Alien Worlds as well. And I started to put together a list of like contributors who are creating helpful work. Like I included like Dwayne and Alien Worlds ƒractal and KROWN DAC, and Marco should be on there too. I've only had the chance to do like the top 15 so far, so I'm still going to add more. Yeah, Marco Gonzalez, author of Briefings newsletter, and I'll add like more information about what everybody's doing just to help provide details. All these things I think will be helpful for Alien Worlds ƒractal at some point probably too. And then I added some of the stuff about how I'm doing helpful work for Eden ƒractal with Eden creators. Put together a page for Genesis ƒractal in a similar way with all sorts of resources and links to interviews with Dan Larimer and stuff like that. Some more pages for like CTF and ƒractal forums and EOS Sages, different ƒractals that I'm aiming to form and help launch. Like Tubus Global is a fun one that I'm excited to share soon. Consortium is an app that Vlad is building on EOS. So there's a whole bunch. You can check it out at edencreators.com. I won't go into too much here, and I'm over 4 minutes. I'll wrap it up now, but I also put together a page about videos that Eden ƒractal is doing. And again, I think that Alien Worlds, it's also like a dam. It's like a movie production studio, because we're making movies every time that we get these. So I have that, and then also just writing about like the fun events and networking events, and how it can be helpful for all these ƒractals and how it inspires communities. I also wrote a bit about Alien Worlds ƒractal here, and combined some links and stuff where we talked about this in the past, Dwayne. And then I also just wrote a bit more about Eden and stuff like that. And then I'm also helping out with the Zeos ƒractal too, and Matthias from Zeos, which is really cool. And then there's a Pomelo pitch where you can help support the Eden ƒractal, which would be appreciated. That's it. And sorry for the long presentation, but hope you enjoyed it. Would anybody like to go next? Maybe June or Dwayne or Coleman?
Take it away, June.
Okay, great. So hey, I think I know everybody here except Cone Man. So I'm June. Started on BitShares and all the way from Steemit to EOS to ƒractal to Alien Worlds, and yeah. So in terms of contributions, I've always kind of been into governance. So the main project I'm kind of working on right now is called D-Board. It's a governance tool. I've mainly just been fundraising, like 90% of the time, just trying to get Pomelo donations. So if you guys want to check it out, really appreciate your support. Even one EOS makes a big difference, but it'll support a project I think really will empower communities to be able to make, strategize, discuss, debate, iterate on proposals, and really be effective in governance. So I think that is a great tool, but maybe 10% of the time just thinking about development and processes, but 90% of the time just trying to raise a little funding for the Pomelo grant project. Other than that, I participated in Fractally, the Genesis Fractal meeting, and I think, just doing some posts for that. So I don't know, maybe, that also counts as well. So, but that's pretty much it. And I did reach out to Sarah and for actually getting D-board for Alien World grant. And I think, I'm planning to apply. They said, hey, you should, we'll kind of, they like the project. So, I think we'll be able to get a support and a grant from Alien Worlds on that as well. So pretty much it. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, June. Coleman, yep, to go on next.
Yeah, why not? Hopefully you can hear me. I've got 2 house fans running because it's really hot today, so hopefully they're not interfering. Honestly, this week haven't done too much since the last time we saw each other, other than doing my normal routine of keeping the metaverse safe from scams, taking out bot networks, because that's my main role in Alien Worlds is behind the scenes. I get rid of these bad actors, and we're constantly improving our systems and collecting data. I liaison with communities quite often as well. They're really excited about the DAOs coming out, so I've had some good meetings lately where we've just sat down and had to talk about how people would like to run planets, because it's amazing how many different ideas there are. Obviously Fractal is one idea, but there's 50 million others, and it's going to be a really interesting time when the DAOs actually get released. Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of competition there, and other than that, making training processes. So one of the main things that I've been doing with the support team is training them how to better do their jobs, like using the blocks explorers and making short little intro videos on how to do this, that, and the other, and get people up to speed on that. And then hopefully we can make some public training as well, where that's going to go even further and take them into the DAOs will then take over that and provide their own training materials. And that's like the big grand idea, but it's in its infancy right now. So that's really all I've been doing at the minute.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. All right. So this week I'm a bit behind on getting the Alien Worlds NFTs out. I have reached out our kind of next big push, because I have heard, the same sort of noise that, DAOs are coming out relatively soon, and the whole council and elections and stuff like that are coming to Alien Worlds hopefully pretty quick. So I've reached out to about a half a dozen people that, at least at one time, were going up for elections, and I've heard back from a few of them. So, so that's kind of a little bit of pre-planning to do some interviews on the people that are going for governance, and then through the interview process, introduce them to what we're doing at Fractally. And I think there might be 2 approaches that might get them over to participate with us in these meetings. One might just help them to have exposure out to the bigger community when they're going for elections. And 2 is just to let their communities and the general wider audience of Alien Worlds maybe use this as a forum to signal to the people that are coming up for elections, what they'd like to see. So yeah, I've been posting here and there to try and get more people to the meeting, but I think maybe going after the leaders might have a some impact. And really, yeah, I guess that's really about it. Yeah, I'll keep it short and sweet. All right.
Cool. Yeah, thanks so much, Train, and thanks everybody. Super helpful work. Really appreciate it.
All right. How do you guys want to come to consensus in our group. It seems if there's two questions each time, and one of them is, do we vote for ourselves? And then the second is just the format of voting, and see it being fairly successful of doing the countdown and putting, all of us putting at the same time who we think is the top contributor just in the chat. But what do you guys think?
I'm happy to do it either way.
Always happy for people to vote for themselves if they feel that they've done enough to warrant that. It's never bothered me that people vote for themselves.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I feel the same.
yeah, I agree. I think I've kind of come to that conclusion as well, that it's fine to do that. So yeah, I think I guess we could do the process. I just my thoughts, it seems as though Dwayne, you do so much, you're kind of like a leader in this space. So it's I mean, you should always kind of be either the top or near the top. Dan did a lot in terms of like, all this effort, like in terms of just quantity, just like he's doing governance stuff every day almost, and doing great stuff like connecting everybody together too. So and then Marco writes a blog, it's in gaming, it's relevant to Alien Worlds, not directly but still relevant. I do some stuff that's relevant to governance. It's interesting. And then even KROWN, he said he didn't do much, but it's like, okay, well, he did list a lot of things, in terms of bots, and just like he does that everyday stuff too. So it's interesting to try to even manage all like, okay, hey, like it's difficult, right? So anyways, this is just my thought. I'm like, okay, well, it does make it a little hard to, but it seems as though in terms of in terms of like leadership, so it's Dwayne and Dan in my mind are like in terms of just, so, and then the other three is harder, right? So it's like, okay, well, yeah, blog, a tool, but I was mainly fundraising. And then, KROWN has done stuff for Alien Worlds like consistently. So anyways, so that's just my thoughts. I'm just up in there, but that's just kind of what my opinion
You can always
is.
look at past rankings for people who contribute week in, week out. They have briefings, newsletters every week. It's practically mentioned there. And stuff is it's the site that builds on everything. So deciding what he does from week to week sometimes can be tough. So if you want to rank him 6, if he's not, if he hasn't been there in the past week, same thing with Wayne. Because after all, we're here because of him, or we wouldn't be here without him. So if you look at the rankings and you see either Wayne or Dan falling to 4 for a couple of weeks, they really give them a push, especially if no one else. I think Coleman's I usually every week as well. So Coleman hasn't gotten 5 or 6 for a while. Maybe help him up, because a gear that's pumping out every week deserves to get its attention.
Yeah, and it is true. It's just I think the way people have been doing it is, and this is just in terms of the past week's work, right? So if it's if the person hasn't attended, I think for 2 or 3 weeks, like you're saying, Marco, I think you could kind of make it cumulative, where you're just saying, hey, like we haven't been, yeah.
So Fractally is meant to be a cumulative look. If you that's the whole thing. If it's not just what happened past week, it's things that have not been over the weeks, the things that have not gotten the appropriate amount of respect.
Okay.
You're supposed to bring up and campaign them.
So I think there is interesting, like an additive property. I mean, typically, if you haven't been to a past meeting, then that makes sense, because you could kind of accumulate all the ones that you haven't been recognized for. And then maybe if it's consistent, you give a little bit of an extra bonus because they've just been doing it consistently. And so over time, you give a little bit more credit because it's just been consistent, like every week. So I do agree, like you could, you can think of it kind of a couple ways there. So Thanks, Marco.
Yeah,
All right.
these are all good points, and thank you for the analysis, June and Marco. It helps to think about it because it also is very difficult. Like for me, I agree with what you guys are saying about Dwayne. Like I think like because Dwayne is organizing these events and doing so much behind the scenes, and like I think Dwayne also kind of didn't explain everything he's doing. He's being kind of modest a bit, but doing everything with the transactions and then inviting everybody personally and then setting up everything for the future and then coordinating. And I know that last week or 2 weeks ago, he received some funding from the Alien Worlds. So like there's a lot of great stuff he's doing. So I tend to generally think that it's best to rank Dwayne at the top level. And then what you and Conman and Marco are doing, or by you, I was referring to June, if that wasn't clear. But what you three guys are doing is also awesome and super helpful. But yeah, your analysis is much appreciated, and I think that's a helpful part of the process as well to help understand each other's contributions better and so forth.
We are supposed to list our rankings for last week, which we didn't do, which would probably help put things in perspective. I think I missed last week, and the week before, I've been ranked 3, but then the week before that, I got a bit more at 6, or 2 weeks before that.
Yeah, last week I ranked 6. I think the week before that was 5. Yeah.
I was ranked 6th last week, although we had a small room. There's only 3 of us, so it was interesting. And then I wasn't there the week before it because I wasn't feeling well. And then I'm also not sure if like we should, if it's necessary to do that. Like we can make our own rules here with the Alien Worlds ƒractal. I guess Dwayne is kind of the leader in making the rules, so I don't know if it's necessary. I feel like also just like a total list of respect throughout the whole time is maybe more useful in some respects than just what happened in the past week. But yeah, it's also a good thing to consider, Marco.
Because you guys both ranked 6, I wonder Coleman what his rankings are, because I've seen it before. I penalize him because he doesn't have a face, even though I love his NFT, but I realize his contributions are important. I want to know how high he ranks, because I would like to get him to the top of this. So we definitely want the chart. Every once in a while you find some who's workhorse that doesn't get to respect it.
Yeah, I think it's in terms of having past rankings, I think I think if it's more like, I think you could use it as a reference, but I think it may not be a good idea to focus too much on that, because again, it's more about like if you've maybe not been recognized, maybe you did have 2s or 3s for a long time and you've been doing something consistently, then that's that additive kind of concept. But if people just try to make it more like equalizing things, then I think there's a little bit of a problem there, because it's more, I think it is more about like the just trying to get people consistently every week by week to generally evaluate those contributions. And then just as a smaller factor, but still a factor, just like this additive consistency property that you can add to it. So I think it may overweight the idea that, hey, we're trying to somehow equalize things, rather than saying, hey, this is a contribution for this amount of time in general. And to complement that, we have this other way, and you could do it through tracking rankings in the past or other ways, but just to try to at least use that as additional complementary information. So
there is the consideration for the average score in recent weeks, I believe 12 weeks, that play into governance. So if you see someone, let's say someone pops in every week, every other week, every once a month or something like that. So I don't think they will qualify for governance, but it's the idea that they're a developer that, it's something that very few people can do, so it gets a lot of respect. But at the same time, maybe they don't care as much as someone else who's week in, week out, maybe not a big hefty landowner, but they're there throughout the week, chats and stuff like that, and they just don't have enough to get into that average score for governance. That's it. That's how I saw it.
yeah, that's actually true too. Just showing up to the meeting and being consistent about that. I think is also extra like credit too, because I do think being consistent, just showing up to the meetings is respect too. So I mean, okay, so I think that's a good point, Marco. It's like, okay, well, rather than like, because I think I missed last meeting, I went before that, but yeah, people who are more consistent should be given more credit. Those that kind of show up every week. So I do
I
think
liken
so.
it.
Yeah.
I liken that to Chuck and Chris Barnes. I believe that's how they ascended to chief delegates, because they had that influence over the community, and then when it was their time to shine, they had enough. But yeah, I think. Well, I just throw it out there. I like to see if Coleman has enough respect. So, anyway.
Yeah, and I think I think the tools, like it's really hard to kind of, after a while, like there's so many different factors, so many different. I think it'd be nice to have some tools to be able to kind of evaluate more easily. I'll always recommend just maybe even writing something down, or a tool where you enter it in, so at least you could kind of quickly review stuff, kind of even beforehand, or just all at once, and then have these additional kind of comments, like this time for more comments and just the more the nuances of it, and that we could discuss. So anyway, so that could probably also help a little bit. But anyway, so it is interesting. So yeah, I mean, I guess if
One
you
thing,
guys, yeah.
one thing I'm going to do just off the feedback, my leaderboard is not up to date. Hasn't been updated, but that leaderboard I think would be helpful. So maybe take that into consideration, because the leaderboard would help us now. And I didn't update it for 2 weeks here, but I'm going to add a field in that leaderboard, because it shows you how many, respect tokens you've got, or in this case, ƒractal tokens, but maybe just a column that's also says, how many weeks have you attended? Out of 10 weeks, you've attended 4 or 5. And that might be another nice, just quick indicator. So yeah, I appreciate the conversation, because I think that would be a nice little cheat sheet to show, for this type of meeting. We've got 8 minutes, guys. So maybe we should do a fast track kind of on the countdowns. But I think all the discussion was really, really helpful. I think it's going to, make us fly through this part. But if everyone wants, if we want to do the countdown, I'll kind of do a 3, 2, 1. Just give me maybe a thumbs up if you got your name in there. Everyone's good? All right. 3, 2, 1, post.
Got a split already.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna go with either you or Dan, but since Dan mentioned, I was like, okay, but either one is I can switch. I mean, I think Dwayne,
I'll
if you
change it
wanna
to
say-
Dan so we get consensus too.
Yeah, I would say
Yeah.
Dan, and I'd like you guys to keep me like there is a ton of work, but the added pressure to make sure I'm caught up on it, it should be taken into consideration. So tons of work, but I'm a bit behind. So I'd rather see Dan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
All right. So next spots. Everyone got their name in the chat?
Ready?
All
Yep.
right. 3, 2, 1, post.
Okay.
Split.
Coneman and Dwayne.
I would be
Are we
happy
missing a vote?
to change my vote to Dwayne. And then we
Jim,
have
did you vote?
I did. It was just kind of back to back, so
Oh, all right.
Okay. So if Coleman, he said he's happy to change his vote to Dwayne, so does that give Dwayne
I can
consensus
change it
then?
to 22, yeah. All right, so we got Dwayne.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah, I'll put mine to Dwayne as well. Perfect.
So
Awesome.
that one's easier.
All right. Next spot, guys. Everyone ready? 3, 2, 1, post.
I'll change mine to Coleman.
Okay. I'm happy to go with KROWN as well.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right. Next.
Did I miss it? Are we voting for ourselves?
Yeah, you're more than welcome to vote for
Seems like
yourself.
everybody was giving this time.
All right. You guys ready?
Yes.
3, 2, 1, post.
I'll
Okay.
change it to myself, or Jim, you change it to yours.
Marco, I
myself-
think we got consensus for you. 3 out of 5,
Yeah.
right?
I'm happy to vote for Marco too. I was really split and didn't know who to pick, but I appreciate both you guys' contributions a lot.
Cool.
Here's an interesting thing, now that we get consensus. And this is kind of stuff that I guess libertarians might use, or small businesses, Wild Western governments. Since I voted for June, and June voted for me, I think. The power to change, and achieve consensus on a person. It's valid, but that seems more of a conventional style governance. If you dismiss both votes, and now you're just left with 3, do you have consensus? Will be the first question. If you don't, then you consider something else, or you go with the little consensus if you like. So if, well, anyway, it's just, I know it kind of doesn't work out that way, but still, if you dismiss the votes that are voting against each other, you get like a population distribution without the affection of the thing that you're trying to measure.
That's actually a good point. That does actually make sense. So that's a thought we should kind of stew over for a little bit and
Kind of
see.
like
Yeah.
if you're out on the west and you need coal for your train, and somebody needs coal to heat stuff up, like a bank or something like that, and then you have a community voting which way to go, you remove the train operator, you remove the bank operator, but just so you get a better idea of the survival mechanism of the thing, or the people that will be biased, because they can always need it.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, I think, it's definitely, it's a little bit like the self-vote thing, but it's a little bit, I think it's almost like you're abstaining instead. So I think, like you're recusing yourself, like, judges do that often when there's like conflict.
And
of
it tends to
interest.
happen toward the bottom. So in case of people who are not self-interested in a chance to maybe pick out things that people don't see.
Just by the way, to something that's kind of unrelated, mostly unrelated, but just popped in my head. June, one of the reasons why I was also voting for you, and just over the past 5 minutes, and I don't think you mentioned it, was I remember we had our Genesis ƒractal room together like 4 or 5 days ago, and you shared like those 3 really well-written blog posts that were all relevant to fractal governance too. I'm not sure if you mentioned them. Maybe you did, and I just didn't hear it. But in the future, I would try to maybe keep notes throughout the week to just like prepare for it, so that you remember to share those things, because I feel like those are really helpful contributions that I think you just did recently. And even if you did them 2 weeks ago, then it's still valuable to share those in many cases to help share your work and let other people see those posts.
Where can I find them?
Yeah, that's actually a good point. The timing, because this is a Thursday, and I think Fractally is Saturdays, and it was like I actually missed the last couple, like the last meeting, so it would have fit within the time frame, I guess. But yeah, no, thanks, appreciate that thought.
And where can I find your posts?
Most everything I do is in Hive, so it's Cap is the yeah. So I try to summarize more equal animals, and then just do a journey into Fractally blog as well.
Is it 2 hours or 1? I forget. I used to visit.
Is it possible maybe you could provide a link to it? I'm trying to spell it too, but I don't know how to spell it.
Just so you know, this room's about to close. So if everyone can just copy the results so we can post it in the main one and prove consensus.
Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you, Conman, for the reminder.
So we do it here, right?
Yep, just in the Zoom chat for now, I think, if that's what Dwayne's saying. Yeah, I'm glad
Yeah,
that Vlad reached out about the
post
tool too. Thanks, guys.
Post your link in the neighbor, brother.
How was your breakout room?
Invigorating.
It was.
Good.
I moderator, I let us get overtime. We had to crunch it. We had to crunch it.
He just barely made it.
We too had to crunch it. That's very interesting. Did you have any issues reaching consensus at all?
Yeah, we did right on level 4. We had 3 people that were voted for. There were 5 of us in the room. So the top 2 had already been picked, right? Level 6 had been picked, level 5 had been picked. There were only 3 of us left, and all 3 of us got a vote for level 4. So we got stuck on that one. We were short on time already because we had entertained too much discussion earlier. And so that's why
Well,
I didn't keep
the other factor is we really got into the fact that some people weren't doing their consensus, their contribution reports, and we kind of had to go in and dig out from them that we think you did more. So we kind of had to encourage some people to stand up for themselves more, especially because, you know, we had Thomas that was new and he got the lowest slot, but just because he's new, you know, I think part of it is realizing what contributions are you taking to bringing governance to gaming in general, both now and in the future. So, you know, and one thing we try to do is say, well, if you were to do a contribution score overall, what would that be? And that was really confusing to me because, you know, I have the funnel building score. Are you putting people in the funnel? There's the operation score. Do they have a place to land? And when you're doing it, and what are you doing to retain them? And the third thing is, and that includes tools and things that you're building. And the last one is, okay, well, that's today. We always have to be thinking about the future. And again, I give David a really high score of moving all those sliders. He's always doing something about the funnel, doing something to make it operational, doing something to keep people engaged, and doing something for the future.
I need to hop off. Thanks, guys. See you next week.
Thanks, David. See you
Thanks,
soon.
David. Adios.
Thanks, David.
Yeah.
See ya.
I'm taking off too, but June, those articles, they deserve a mythical at some point.
Wait, what was that, Marco?
I'm popping off, but you posted 3 articles that are key for onboarding. They deserve a mythical at some point.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Marco.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Marco. Great seeing you. And yeah, I'll also help promote and advocate June's articles. So you wrote 3 really great articles about ƒractal governance that I just shared a couple posts above in the Hive post about molecular animals, and he's also thinking of starting a ƒractal with a nonprofit universal gift dividend project too. That sounds really interesting as well. So yeah, thanks so much, June.
Yeah, appreciate that. It was interesting too. One of the articles I wrote, hey, it's better to maybe start a new ƒractal, but I think Dan mentioned in this past meeting that since it's pretty small, the Genesis ƒractal still, that it's probably better to start with the team he suggested, because it is, you know, we don't have as many people. I mean, this is a good group. We already did a great job. I mean, you know, getting this amount of people, but you know, I do think, okay, maybe it's good to just start as a team under the Genesis ƒractal first. And I think, Thomas, that's what you decided to do with the BitShares ƒractal, to do a team first and then convert it eventually into a ƒractal afterwards. Just a thought, yeah. So because I was like trying to decide what the best way is, and I think both ways still make sense. It's just yeah, I just think for practical purposes, the Genesis ƒractal is still pretty small, like, you know, 30, 40 people. So it's maybe it's okay to just kind of, even there's a little bit of different missions, it's it's good to support the Genesis fractal. So and the other reason too, in that article I wrote, I was like, I might want to do something like you could only join one team under a Genesis fractal. And I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll try to join another team and just keep this separate. But then I was thinking, well, I probably won't have as much time to join this other team. So I probably should just combine it all together and just put a team under the Genesis fractal. And so anyway, so I might have to kind of update that last blog post that I wrote, kind of signaling that I was going to actually create a separate fractal, which I think this is good because it's very few. I mean, this is a great experiment. How many fractals are there that are independent right now? I know that there's Genesis fractal, Alien Worlds. BitShares is still a team right now. It's not Thomas, if you could confirm. But are there other independent fractals so far? I think Matt was mentioning that he's doing some analysis, and it seemed as though he was trying to reach out to separate fractals. And Eden fractal is still a team. Like it's a team, right?
Well, Eden fractal is a team, but it's also an independent fractal.
So there's two things. Okay.
Yeah. So the Eden fractal came first, and we just had our 10th Eden fractal meeting. I host them every Thursday at 13 UTC, and we've been giving out 100 EOS a week, and also the Eden Respect, that's all on chain. And we have we have usually between 15 and 20 people who join every week, and I encourage and invite everybody to join. You can learn more at edenfractal.com. That's been going on for 10 weeks now, and we also have all the videos from all the events there too. And then like 4 weeks ago or so, we formed the Eden Fractal team, and right now there's 6 people representing the Eden Fractal and the Eden Fractal team at the Genesis Fractal.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. So so that's so then the Eden Fractal is like a big fractal outside Alien Worlds, and then Genesis Fractal. And then there's another also a Eden Fractal team under the Genesis Fractal. So that's cool to know. So yeah, you could do both, I guess. That's the other thing. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been supporting all 3 fractals as much as possible, and I think that that all 3 communities providing really helpful value in unique ways, and then they can all work together well. And then also I'm looking forward to the BitShares fractal when that forms, but I know that they decided to try the team, which makes sense as well. And same with the GIF dividend project as well. But yeah, and then June too, it'd be great if you ever want to join the Eden Fractal events too on Wednesdays, if you're available.
I'm sorry, I heard BitShares and then my my feed dropped down. It just came back. Did I miss anything that was addressed to me? The BitShares?
Yeah, I don't know if June is frozen right now. It looks like June is frozen to me. And June just left. But yeah, June was asking about the BitShares fractal, and he was kind of confirming that you guys decided to start a team on the Genesis fractal first, and then kind of asking, I guess, about your plans. But it seems like you start the team, then you'll start the BitShares fractal at some point soon. So he was kind of just asking for, I guess, clarification about that.
Yeah, maybe I'll make a post trying to clarify that. And before I continue, just quick question. So what's the structure? What do we have for Eden? We have an Eden, we have a fractal EOS team and an Eden fractal, or how many because I know like right now I'm fractally an orbit team, so I can't really start this. I can't join the BitShares team. Well, we're trying to form it with 4 people, but you can't have 2 teams in the same fractal. So are you on like one team in the Genesis fractal and then just doing stuff in a separate fractal other than Genesis, or what's your guys kind of layout so far?
Yeah, so I just explained some of this, and I guess you didn't hear it, but I'll just, I suppose, briefly summarize again. And then touch upon anything else that you asked. So the Eden fractal, no worries at all. I understand audio issues happen a lot, but the Eden fractal has been meeting as an independent fractal independently of the Genesis fractal. We're using the same process, but it's to help EOS and help Eden is like the main goal basically. And we've been doing that for the past 10 weeks now. There's usually like 15, 20 people who join. I know you joined like 2 weeks ago, and that was much appreciated.
That was
Yeah.
the one on, that's the Wednesday mornings is the Eden fractal. Okay.
Yep, that's correct. And then just like a month ago or so, 6 of the members of the Eden Fractal formed the Eden Fractal team to kind of represent the Eden Fractal at the Genesis Fractal.
Gotcha. Okay. Now for BitShares, we're trying to form the team. We had an interesting kind of idea, me and Pascal, and I think we could all kind of. I'd like to hear people's feedback on this. So, we know the concept of blockchain communications. So we were talking about, because we need to get people to join our meetings, about like giving 100 BitShares away as a reward for joining. So then we thought, oh, what if we give an NFT also? Then I thought, what if we gave like a Wax Alien World NFT as a reward? So now, like, someone comes in, they get the 100 BitShares, they're like, oh, what's this reward? Oh, it's a Wax. Like, oh, well, I don't have Wax. Well, why don't you make an account and then you can receive this reward? So, that's blockchain communication right there. We would be, for the BitShares teams now bringing in new people into the Wax community. And as Dan rolls out his UI and blockchain, and I know we'll be able to sponsor communities. I could imagine the Wax community being like, oh, this BitShares team keeps sending people making new accounts for us. We really like what they're doing. Maybe we'll stake or sponsor them a little bit. So now we have a connection there. And that's just one small example. Who knows what other kind of mutual beneficial things we could do. What if we all started sharing NFTs from different communities? And because people are very tribal, right? The BitShares people with the BitShares wallet nobody wants to create another wallet on another chain. But I feel like most people, when they ever do, they realize like, oh, this is nice. I want to stay here now. So if we could just kind of incentivize through mutual cooperation, getting people to, get involved in all these different chains, and then Fractal blockchain being the kind of centerpiece that we could all connect through. So it was just kind of idea we had in the last meeting, me and Pascal. So what do you guys think about that?
I think it's a great idea, and I'd like KROWN to talk about some of the gamification he did. He talked about it in one of our last meetings about frenemies and dumping NFTs on different people's lands. But I'm just going to post one thing, Thomas. Extra is on the call here, and Extra's team has decades of history on physical assets, silver and gold, and they have a silver token, and they've set up I just posted in the chat a way to back NFTs. So the NFTs I'm giving out are actually backed with Trillium. So to get to Trillium, you have to burn the NFT on the NFT backer site. But we're also going to twist their arm, and since I'll put Extra on the spot, is hopefully incentivize them enough to help out with a blending mechanism as well, so that you'd have the option of burning your NFTs and getting the tokens, or giving up your tokens and your 10 NFTs to blend them to get an NFT that's backed with a silver coin. So I find it pretty exciting that there's going to be a lot of price discovery on Fractally when the token comes out, and there's some liquidity, and then all of our other tokens. So us just kind of coming ahead and giving out these NFTs backed with tokens, and then If you blend 5 of the same, so say 5 mythical, you get a mythical NFT backed with silver. That silver kind of has a, you know, a backed price point, right? So some interesting tokenomics there. But long story short, I would definitely support the Wax vision. I would need some creative help to create a new series of NFTs, but I would definitely co-promote any of that, and any assistance you need, yeah, just drop me a telegram. I think it's a great idea to have more, you know, cross-pollination. And then I'm just going to back up and take the opportunity to talk, just speak to June's point about a team instead of a fractal. A team allows the option just to stay in that fractal blockchain, and for the participants in the Genesis fractal to bring points to your team. So I think it's more consistent with the Genesis fractal and a bit easier to manage. And definitely a great place to start. And you can always graduate to your own fractal. You see a lot of these fractals where we're on different chains, and it's yet to be seen how that inter-blockchain is really going to work with the fractally blockchain. So it might be a little safer to, you know, start earning that, you know, token that's on their blockchain, their fractal token or respect token. So, but yeah, I'm going to pass it on to KROWN. You've done some great community building and cross-pollination between different teams. If you like to speak about some of that, I think it'd be useful to the group.
Yeah, absolutely. So KROWN Land Drop was a project that technically is still running. It's not stopped, but at the minute it's on a little bit of hiatus while we streamline some things. So the idea was that people could drop an NFT on any alien world's land, as long as that landowner was part of KROWN Land Drop, like they put their name in. So they consented to having NFTs dropped on their land. And what this achieved was people would put their own NFTs, and maybe it would be something funny, it could be something just from their own project on Wax, whatever it was. It could drop on any one of the lands that was in that project. And at the height of it, there was over 300 lands, and I'm hoping to get more in the future. But this was just after the original governance was talked about, and people got really excited about it. So one of the things that I did to incentivize it is something that I called the frenemy system. You know, you can have a friend, but you want to put your advert for you being a governor on their land in an NFT form. And it made this really interesting thing where, like, you know, we gave out over 100,000 NFTs, and all I did was supply the account for people to do that with. And that suddenly got them going for it. Before then, they were a bit, people didn't want to do it so much because the minting cost, and then you've got like the sending cost. But if that was all taken care of via this system, then they just wanted to get in on it. And it was hilarious, like how many people were messaging me every day asking to get involved. So yeah, that's the frenemy system. It's really powerful when people can utilize something like that.
So can I add something real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I just want to clarify what Dwayne said. Specifically related to what we're doing with the NFT, with the backers and so forth, is that Dwayne wants to do the blending. You don't actually need to do the blending. That's really kind of a step between Trillium and the physical silver. Because I think KROWN, I think you bought one of our NFTs and burned it for the silver already.
Not for the silver, but I've done the ones from the fractal. I think I was the first person to burn it for the token.
Yeah. So
yeah, so we had somebody else who did it too, who actually bought the NFT, bought the silver NFT, and then burned it for the physical silver token, and then actually redeemed it for the physical coin to actually like go through the whole process. To like, they did it kind of as a test because they were skeptical of us, so they wanted to see if it really worked. And so, like I said, they bought the silver NFT, burned it, got the fungible token, and redeemed the fungible token for the actual coin to prove that throughput actually does exist. So you don't necessarily have to do the trillium that Dwayne was describing. And frankly, that was really kind of not really the point of why we built NFT Backer, or my partner did, right? Was not to do trillium, right? Was to completely get away from the fiat, if you will, tokens like Trillium, and really to give a hard-backed, real-world asset to it, which is really the kind of the philosophical underpinning of the business. And, that my partner and I, worked on, my dad's currency, which would have the same philosophical underpinning, if you will. So I don't want it to be misconstrued, or Dwayne to kind of misspeak a little bit about what exactly the functionality is, because you don't really need to do the blending that he was describing. In any event, it's a minor self-serving point.
Guys, I got a couple of comments to share, if I may.
Sorry, what I'd say about that is just like KROWN, when you build it, people will utilize it in ways that you never originally intended, and it's amazing to see where they take it. So always prepared to be fluid with whatever you build, because people will run with it. They'll not exploit it essentially, but they'll use it for their own methods, and yeah, it's just something to pay note to.
No, totally agreed, Shunman. Sorry, Jason, 1 second. I totally agree. And that's absolutely like one of the great things about, blockchain and crypto and the kind of community around this technology that exists, right? Is that you don't know where it's going to go. And you don't necessarily have the same sort of walled garden with like IP and access and that sort of thing that forces people to go down a particular, product use case. And build it what you want, right? And maybe that goes to bit shares and some of the other topics we've been discussing as well. So anyway, Jason, go ahead. Sorry.
I think Coneman, the frenemy protocol is brilliant. Nothing short of it. It's like staring at the sun, brilliant, because it really gets to the essence of gameplay, like throughout the world of leisure sport and competitive sport and gaming, is that you temporarily hate your opponent. I can say this as a former competitive athlete, that athletes compete emotionally and rivalries occur, and that is part of the fun. The more intense the rivalry, the more fun it actually is for the participants and the audience. And that frenemies is the essence of sport. I mean, the opponents over there, like, we have mutual respect as contenders in the same arena, but at the same time, I hate their guts, right? And we have our rules that we play the game. The game exists within that dynamic. So I think you've really hit a nerve you've hit the right nerve with that frenemy protocol. And to that extent, actually, I'd like to bridge a concept from Thomas's concept. Thomas had said, you spread around NFTs, you pollinate in a sense, and then the effect of that is that new experience, and that somebody from a different network has a new experience operating on Wax, and they can, from that position, they can see the advantages and better chance of retention, better chance that our network effect grows, which is like I guess the high level mandate is to affect to bridge network of networks, right? To build a network of networks for the network effect. And to extras opportunity with having a method, this pathway to physical silver. I mean, somebody here has got to talk to Pirates of the Caribbean franchise about making pirate games out of this. Like, win the pirate game, get the silver or something, like, or maybe not Pirates of the Caribbean, but that's just an example of an enormous fan base network right? The enthusiasm for that fan base is palpable. It's an audience that's successful and they're affluent. And you give them a gimmick and they're bored on a Tuesday and fuck it, they'll chase the silver. You know, you get Click City that way. So Thomas, you're onto the right idea. Build networks, and extra, you're providing endless opportunity of bridging digital to the physical.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's great points. Thanks, Jason. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you all later. Have a great day.
Thanks so
All right,
much,
Dan,
man.
take care.
I'm just going to slip something in here really quick, guys. Just 1 second. All right. Prize time. Left side, 1,000 trillion. Whoa. Whoa. Right on the edge. We got Marco. 1,000 trillion. All right, let's get on the other side here. Right side, 1 million KROWN. What? Clean sweep. What?
Good job.
Marco cleaning up. I'll have to let him know. Thanks.
I got it one, guys. Dwayne, maybe I'll message you in the Mighty Networks about finishing my sign up process.
You bet.
Like kind of halfway. All right, I
Perfect.
got to run, guys. It was a pleasure. Had a lot of fun.
Thanks so much. Adios.
Take care, guys.
Just down to us degens again, eh?
No bundles. It always.
So the NFT dropping system is still live, but like I said, it's very rudimentary in the way that it operates. And I'd love to create a tool that takes that to the next level and incorporates governance, allows people to drop on any land essentially that they'd be able to. And I did speak to the guys in engineering, and it's not impossible to do that on every land and alien world. It doesn't even have to be an alien world. Like we could do it in Telegram channels and Discord channels. It could be you get a claim link and you input that claim link. So someone who doesn't even have a Wax wallet, for the first time, they get their first ever NFT. That's their incentive to come to the blockchain, check it out. At the same time, we could probably wangle some free codes from Wax to like create some accounts as well. So like, hey, here's an NFT and your first account. Come join the blockchain. There you go. So yeah.
I've had Jordan. I think he was on 1 or 2 of these meetings. We've just been playing telephone tag. He has a maker space in the West Coast, and he's been super busy with the project. But we started that project in February and put some money down, and he's got the first MVP of it. KROWN, man, I'll invite you to that meeting. I'm really hoping we can connect with him. It was supposed to be 2 weeks ago, and then we just, have had some issues. But yeah, let's see if he seems like he's up to finishing it. But I kind of like the idea as well to go into other platforms, especially with the new Wax wallet where you need some resources now. Definitely doing things like Telegram or Discord, but yeah, I'm up for the challenge to get that going, and I'll give it another week and a half if we can get a hold of Jordan, and if not, we'll look for maybe some other solutions.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Hey, so I had a question on that. Thanks, Dwayne and KROWN, man. So yeah, I remember that there are a couple different projects on, it's on Wax and also Binance Chain. There's a few tokens. Is there like, how do they interoperate, I guess? So if you have like this game on Binance chain, and then you have, you know, the Wax, the main chain. Yeah, I'm just trying to kind of figure out like how everything's connected with each other.
For
So.
sure. I can tell you about Trillium. Mining, so just joining the game, you don't have to spend any money. They give you one tool and you start mining Trillium, TLM, on Wax. But the marketplace, the main market maker is Binance, and Binance's market is Trillium on Binance chain. So right in the UI of Alien Worlds, they have something called a teleport, which basically bridges the Wax chain to Binance chain. So you can move your Wax-based tokens over to Binance chain tokens, and then get that liquidity out of Binance to buy and sell the Binance chain token, if that makes sense.
Just to clarify that, that's a one-to-one burn. So if I burn 100 TLM on Wax via the teleport system, it then gives me it on BSC or Ethereum if I wanted to teleport over to that chain. It's unlikely that you're going to do that with just 100 TLM because obviously ETH has a lot of fees, but you could do it if you wanted to. But yeah, it's burnt on the Wax side and minted again and given to you one for one on whatever chain you teleport to. The same goes in reverse as well. If I go on Binance and buy TLM on there, I can teleport it back into Wax, which it used to be pretty much one of the few ways that some people around the world with regional restrictions could get onto the Wax chain and start using it, because they couldn't buy Wax back then. They can now, which is great, but it's still used in that method to this day. We see people regularly buying like thousands of Trillium on BSC and teleporting it over, and that's their first intro to Wax.
Interesting. Okay, makes sense. And then is there a separate game on the Binance chain? I think I remember reading something in the past.
We call it a game, but it's our staking system where you play missions, is what we call it, and you're playing Alien Worlds missions with your Trillium on BSC, and essentially you're staking it on those missions, and you get an NFT reward on BSC and a Trillium reward out of that. So like an ROI, APY %. And there's more to come with that in the future. I can't give too much away, unfortunately, but it's the NFTs themselves that you get over on the mission side, BSC, will be able to be teleported eventually back onto Wax, and there'll be some fun gameplay around that as well.
Okay, great. And then so I remember, so the ETH tokens, that was initially at the very genesis, right? For the original NFT packs, I guess. Is there, and Ethereum is pretty expensive to even just interact with. So I assume, is there still like some sort of liquidity or bridge, or is it pretty much, are these traded on Uniswap or are?
I just checked recently, there's still about 1.4 billion Trillium on Ethereum.
Oh, wow, okay.
In various liquidity pools, like on, I forget its name now, Ave, I think it's called, or something along that lines, but there's still like a lot of liquidity pools going around. People like storing things on Ethereum at times, like there's a couple of big wallets out there with like millions of Trillium that just store it on Ethereum because that's what they know and love, and they prefer it to using a managed wallet, for example, like Wax. They like having the full control over it. There's no plans at present to bring any gaming features over to Ethereum, but who knows where the future goes. Maybe the DAOs come in and say, hey, we want an ETH game too, like let's create it. You never know.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. And then the BSC Ethereum, it's EVM, right? Essentially. so people kind of interact with kind of their same MetaMask address for either. I
Yeah,
assume?
yeah, so it can be on MetaMask, XDeFi wallet, just about any well, I think any popular wallet, because it's a normal contract in Ethereum. So yeah, they can just get that contract address, put it in so they can see it, but you know, they can then just store it on the Ethereum side in their seed key wallet versus something like Wax, which is a username and password wallet, a managed wallet.
I would
Thanks,
think
Conan.
I would
Mhm.
think with EOS having a few things coming up in September, one of them is faster finality, and then the other one's IBC between chains. So, you know, we could propose once that's done to you know, have an IBC over to EOS. So if there was any EOS tools or governance tools or, you know, things like Pomelo, you know, that could be applicable probably in the future. You know, dboard, right? Things like that maybe you don't want to port over to Wax. Maybe they can port over to EOS. So it might be interesting. There's some options there. And then I'm not sure really how it plays in, but you know, a lot of noise and excitement about EOS's EVM as well, right? So so that might allow, you know, an Ethereum bridge without the fees, and maybe utilizing, like, Ethereum has a lot of governance tools and stuff as well. So yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, thanks.
Seeing this, post the link in the chat. But we're going to be expanding onto the Zakilla chain eventually, and there's another blockchain that's kind of like the Steam of Web3 is what we're calling it, or the actual company's calling it, and I will find that information just now.
So that's even more interesting because so Dwayne mentioned, you know, there is the EVM, the EOS EVM, and you know, IBC. And then I guess the team is partnered with Zilliqa, which is another chain. And so it is fascinating. I mean, we're you know, it's a multi-chain world essentially that we're getting into, and somehow being able to interoperate with them without kind of just replicating the technology, I think will be ideal. So that's what, and Dwayne, I was actually thinking, okay, hey, can we do something maybe EVM like based so that it can be compatible at least with all of these chains a little bit more easily, because that's kind of probably the path like these DAO tools will take anyways. And so maybe start with Wax and first, you know, well, EOS first, and then Wax later, and then so that we can have the software, you know, for alien worlds. And so, but yeah, those are kinds of things we're thinking about. Nova, Splinterlands, Steam portal game.
There's also the elephant in the room that's I have no indication from Alien Worlds on this. This is my own interpretation, but being a block producer on Wax, I know that games like Alien Worlds and Farming Tales and games that are posting every transaction on the blockchain come up against this little bit of fight about how many resources that takes on chain. With the EOS.io coalition, with Wax working with EOS, working with Telos and UX and these different chains, the faster finality was a huge thing to be able to have IBC. And what it's going to allow are side chains. So if you're Wax, you want people to stick and still use Wax. So if they really want to get back to easy onboarding and have less bloat and less transactions and less costs to keep the main Wax chain up, they could be a settlement layer and easily with IBC and faster finality start up their own side chain. So if I was the Alien Worlds guys, I would be already having a whole department of people developing the old sidechain. And depending on how favorable Wax has been to them, you know, if I was Wax, I'd want to set up a side chain for Alien Worlds to still utilize, you know, the Wax token and the bridge there. If I was Alien Worlds, I might just say, screw you, Wax. I'll have a side chain of my own and keep my native token and have it just, you know, a Trillium side chain. Either way, this is going to be the advent of bringing a lot more games onto chain, because if every game wanted to go to Wax right now, they couldn't deal with the traffic. It would just be too expensive for the block producers. We'd have more friction on new user accounts and more resources. So to get away from those resources and easy onboarding, side chains are going to be the way to go. So I predict that after September, we'll see, you know, announcements 3 to 6 months after that, you know, we're now using side chains to do all these in-game actions and just settling up on the main chains. So there's, once again, this is my speculation, but if I was in charge of either of those two groups, I'd be sprinting fast to that finish line of side chains for GameFi.
Yeah, I wouldn't rule that out, honestly, especially with the coming changes to the Wax blockchain, where they're changing the resource system. So they've already done the preliminary changes, which is if you don't have the resources in your wallet, it'll pay, or in your transaction, it'll ask you to pay a very small amount of Wax. I think it's 0.1 Wax for that transaction, just to push it through on the chain. And that can add up really, really quickly and be cost prohibitive to a lot of people. Similarly, they're looking at games that don't take steps against the bots and whatever other mechanics that they put in place to incentivize people just to make new accounts, instead of playing with a single account.